EDO.
Everybody, welcome to Finding Me with Josh Wolf. I'm Josh Wolf, daily podcast where I hold myself accountable, be the person I want to be, put out what I want to put out, and find the most authentic version of myself. I have to tell you about a couple things. One, I have to tell you another fucking thing that this podcast has taught me. But that comes later. Today I don't know why I feel it. I'm gonna put my glasses on. Not so I can see myself, but so that I can see. It's really weird just to see at this point, just to see blur. This would be an odd choice. Because, you know what I mean? I am trying to kind of also communicate with myself, but it's hard to do that when everything looks... I'm trying to think. I think I would rather lose, like, knee glasses as opposed to hearing aids. So I would rather sight goes than hearing, but it's both happening. Do you know, I can tell you the day that I remember I lost some of my hearing. I was in Mexico with my cousin in 2000. Maybe, yeah, 2000. And the reason, it was just me and him. At the time, in my family, we were the only two that had a little extra money. And I had just gotten my first big paycheck. Like, I had just left the luxury apartments. This was my first move out. I had done that. I'm not sure if I've talked to you guys about the one-man show that I did at the HBO workspace. And I got a TV deal out of it. That's what got me out of just living in one room. And I had done it was just basically, I think the one-man show was called, it was like a classified ad, like SWM with kids seeking. So single white male with kids seeking, I think was the name of the show. But I got my first big deal out of there. And so I moved right out of the luxury apartments and I moved up. I'd always wanted to live in the Hollywood Hills because I don't know why. Because it was the Hollywood Hills and it wasn't one bedroom in Hollywood, next to, in my building that we call the luxury apartments, because that's the way they were called, the luxury apartments, on North Vista. So it's 1417 North Vista. And can I tell you something funny about there? So Adam Sandler's producing partner, Jack Giraputo, used to live in my apartment. He was the person who lived in my apartment before I did. And he moved out because I guess he started making money, obviously, with producing with Sandler. And so I was dirt poor there. And, my buddy, I used to run around with Joey Diaz. And we used to get these residual checks, for whatever, 100, 200, but some of them were 40, but some of them were bigger, for Jack, for all the movies and shit he had done. And then we had a stack of them. And I remember one day Joey was like, "Dog, we got to cash these checks." And I go, "No, dude, we can't cash those checks. This guy is looking for this money." And he goes, "Is he?" And I was like, "Dude, there had to be $8,000 there." I go, "Dude, if there was $8,000 in checks, you're telling me because where I wasn't in then, 8 grand, if I knew there was 8 grand in checks somewhere, I would have been there a pronto, right? And so he was like, dog. I go, if you had 8 grand in checks out there, wouldn't you, wouldn't you like know where it is? He goes, yeah, you and I would, because we need 8 grand. He goes, this dude obviously does not need 8 grand. He's making, and he was like, he's making, whatever. And he was like, let's just cash 2 of them. And I was like, first of all, still no. But second of all, why just two? And he goes, I'm going to try my luck. Try 2 different places. And I was like, I don't think it's a good idea. And a couple of days later, he came to my house and he gave me like $300. And I go, what is that? He goes, that's your cut. I was like, my cut? And he goes, yeah, from the checks I cashed. I go, I thought we weren't cashing. He goes, no, you weren't cashing. He was like, I need $300. I go, you only cashed 600? He goes, no, I cashed like $1,000, but your cut's 300. I was like, okay. But yeah, man, I don't know how I got to that, to the luxury apartments. I was House on the Hill, Mexico hearing. You're welcome. Ooh, that was impressive. So I was in Mexico with my cousin, and we were like, fuck it, let's go to Mexico for, I think it was like 4 days. And we were in Sammy Hagar's bar, which is called Cabo Wabo, I think. And I was a little drunk and pretty high on ecstasy. And there was a cover band playing. They have huge speakers. And I went and leaned my head up against one of them. And I could hear something. It was in my left ear go, boop. And I was like, oh, I got to go shake that off. And it never shook off. Yeah. So that was the first. So I hear way better out of my right ear than my left ear. And have for a long time. But yeah, dude, trip, that trip with my cousin was so, we get in, right? And we had booked some deep sea fishing. And this is pre-cell phone shit. We had booked some deep sea fishing at like 5:30 or something, you know. And we were out drinking all night and we almost died there. We were walking out of one of the clubs and there were these guys in a pickup truck and they were like, you guys want to go to a party? And we're again high on ecstasy and alcohol. And we were like, what's going on in the party? Where is it? And they were like, I was out of downtown. It's up there in the hills. And we were like, what's going on? They described what would have been the best party of all time. But it was probably a murder hut up in the mountains in the woods. And I remember we started to walk to the truck and I was like, dude, this might be a bad idea. And he was like, I was thinking the same thing. But we were out and just fucked up. And we get back to the room and I said, dude, we got fish in the morning. And he was like, yeah. I go, get us a wake up call. He was like, good idea. I said, we got to be there. Like, I forget what it was. It was maybe like 5:30 or 6 or something like that. It was early. And I go, dude, set a wake up call for 5 o'clock. And he goes, okay. So he calls the front desk and he goes, hey, can I get a wake up call for 5 o'clock? And she goes, you want me to call you in 10 minutes? And I was like, damn it, cancel the fishing. Yeah. Well, there was I wasn't walking around looking at my phone all the time and knowing what time it was. I just knew we were still fucked up. It was time to stay out. Anyways, I want to tell you what I learned today. And I would have only learned from this show because I think about it now. And I think I mentioned this, but maybe I've mentioned it before, but it really highlighted for me today because I talk about it. And so this is my version of a journal, and part of the journal is to talk about what I'm thinking or feeling. And so I talk about it. I have noticed because before I would have just been like, I wouldn't have pinpointed it to this. I would have just pinpointed it as life or something or during the day or whatever. But I'm way more emotionally volatile than I thought I was. With my mood. And it's something I think no matter what happens with this show, it's something I'll probably take two or three things already away with me from this show. But this would be one of them where this is something I think I have to figure out, whether it's professionally or I would prefer for it not to be medically, but it's not. I don't want that type of ride in my life anymore. Yeah, I don't want it. So I do have to figure out why that happens to me. And I don't know, man. Maybe I would like to talk to some addicts or people who have been through it. I wonder if fighting, not getting the constant dopamine, if that is like that leads to up and down. But I don't think so. I don't think that's what it is. Because I have it no matter what. Yeah. It's no matter what. And it doesn't feel like I don't have irrational behavior, right? So it doesn't feel like bipolar, but there are, and I don't feel like I have manic shit, but there are extreme ups and extreme downs, you know, and wild shifts in like, an outlook on life shifts, you know? So I really would love not to be on this roller coaster anymore. So I really, it'll be like the number one thing I take from here and put into action sooner rather than later. You know, I'm so grateful for figuring that out, here with you guys and myself. But that is it's kind of crazy and alarming, if I'm being honest. It's not like dangerous, and I don't go from wild laughs to wild cries. It feels very drastic to me, right? I'm not running around the house like a hyena sometimes and just sobbing. But the up and downs feel very drastic to me. So, and I don't like them, most of all. So I'm going to do something about that. That's what I wanted to share with you. I got to pack. I'm going to Portland this weekend. I love going there. I did not write my list today. No. Did I? No, that was yesterday. But I did go over another song. I have to remember. Oh, what the other? I gotta go back to Monday and look at the goals again. But I think one of the goals was crushing this weekend in Portland. And I believe that is going to happen. I actually am really excited about trying something new this weekend. I can't wait to tell you about it. I'll probably tell you about it after the weekend. Maybe I'll tell you what it was tomorrow. I'll tell you what it is tomorrow. All right, listen. It's super cool there's only one of you. It really is. Super cool. There's only one of you. But, dude, you have to be okay with you to appreciate how super cool it is. There's only one of you. And I'm talking directly to my face. And to anyone else who that makes sense to, but it makes sense to me. All right. Finding me with Josh Wolf. Later.